All right, well, let's go ahead and get going, and people will join as we go. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about today about interviews, best practices. I am a hiring manager. My name is Barret Blake. I work out of Columbus, Ohio, um, for a company called Fusion Alliance. We're an IT recruiting firm, consulting firm. We do the whole gamut of stuff. Um, just a little bit about me there. There's links to my social media and blog and things like that, and you can reach out if you have any questions after this time. Hopefully, we'll have enough time to get through everything, get through everybody's questions, but we'll see how it goes. And like I say, if we run out of time, feel free to reach out to me afterwards. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of dive into things. So just a quick overview of the agenda. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about types of interviews, kinds of things you might be expecting when you're doing interviews with various tech companies, various types of positions. Then I'll talk a little bit about some best practices for preparing for the interview. And we'll talk about what goes on during the interviews and how you can handle those, things that might come up and things you can expect there. And then a little bit about how to follow up after the interview, and just kind of the things that you would want to do after the interview has been completed and following up. And then hopefully we'll have, like I say, some time for questions and answers at the end. So the first thing I want to talk about is preparing for an interview. So there's a number of things that you might do to prepare. What? Apparently I got my slides out of order. My apologies for that. Oh no, sorry. I was in the right order. I was talking about interview types first. Sorry. This is the first time I've talked about this subject, so I'm a little rusty on this. So the different kinds of things that you can expect from interviews, different kinds of interviews that you might go through. The first type is kind of a pre-screen. It's generally with an HR person or maybe with a recruiter if you're working with an outside recruiter, or even with a recruiter in a company that you're targeting to interview at. It's generally a quick call, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, or in person if you happen to be on site, just to kind of get an idea of the kinds of things that you're looking for, the kinds of things that they might have that would be open for you. The next type of interview you might go through is some kind of assessment. So there's different kinds of assessments. There's a personality assessment. This can be either over the phone, it might be in person. They might give you some application to go out and fill out forms. I've faced all three in my various career choices over the years. And that's a lot of times they're checking to see if you're a fit for their company culture-wise, to see what kind of personality you might display there. It's fairly uncommon to run into that at small and mid-sized companies, but it is fairly common even now still at large companies, although I think it's a trend that's kind of going away. It's something that's not quite as popular as it once was. But there are still, especially, let's say, at larger companies who still do that kind of personality assessment. Then there's the technical assessments. Those are some kind of challenge for you, some kind of coding. It might be in person. They might give you a problem to solve on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, or they might give you something to take home and create a block of code and then submit it to them. Or they might give you an application that you go out to and you fill in code, and it gives you a number of test questions of various things related to code. It's a fairly common thing for developer positions to have that kind of test assessment, technical assessment, no matter what size of company. Most of the time, I think a lot of times it's done as a whiteboard interview. That's something that I'm not particularly fond of or think that it's all that effective. Technical assessments in general, I think the best way to approach them and the companies that I admire for doing that is the ones where they just talk you through various things. So, they during the interview might say, here's the problem. How would you go about solving that? When I do those kinds of technical assessments with potential candidates for my team, I prefer to talk through it. I want to see, I'm more interested in their problem solving skills than their actual technical knowledge. Technical knowledge can be learned, but the way that people approach things, the way that they tackle the problems that might come up to against them is something that's far more valuable to me as a hiring manager. But not everybody sees it the same way. A lot of times they're looking for actual technical answers. They want to know that you actually know, how many digits of whatever, a float variable might have, or whatever it might be, some kind of obscure things. And those are things that you're going to run into, and I'm not fond of them. I don't like when companies do that, but it is something that you're probably going to face.